newly established UCLA Pacific Islander Alumni Association. Thank you all for coming. More people will come on in as the program progresses. And I apologize for starting a little behind, well, a lot behind. As our UCLA Alumni Affairs staff will learn as they come to work with our community, we tend to start things a little late. So it's good to see you all here. I'll be able to hopefully talk to each of you more individually as we progress throughout the evening. As I said, my name is Laniba Tuala. I graduated from UCLA in 2011. I studied sociology and education. And so afterwards, I thought I wanted to go into the education field. That's what I'm currently doing back home in the city of Compton. I'm a current substitute teacher, but that's enough about myself. So I am the president of the Pacific Islander Alumni Association. Fortunately, our vice president couldn't be here this evening. Her name is Kanani Masaho, and this is our, if you look back there, Alexis, raise your hand, please. That's Alexis Bunchen-Penn. She's our treasurer and our communications chair. So in starting the association, we wanted to bridge the gap between older alumni and newer alumni to create better professional opportunities for younger generations and to strengthen our community ties. And we also wanted to support our current UCLA students, both undergraduate and graduate, because statistically, sure we all know Pacific Islanders make up less than 1% of the UCLA campus and students, and we also make up less than 1% of the UC applicant pool. So in total, only 460 Pacific Islander graduates in the nearly 100 years of UCLA's existence. So we all know UCLA's got their centennial campaign going on, and so to just kind of let that sink in, only 460 alumni from our community, from the Pacific Islander community throughout UCLA's existence. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do that, we started this, was we wanted to help improve the admission of Pacific Islanders to UCLA and their retention once they're here, and support our Pacific Island Student Associations with their events and also their retention, and also, their outreach efforts in our Pacific Islander community. So in a few minutes, after this, we're going to hear first, we're going to have an info session by our staff at the UCLA Alumni Affairs. So if you have questions, we're also going to start our live stream now. Julie, Sina, and Patricia Nguyen are going to introduce more of who they are and also what the UCLA Alumni Affairs is
about. Thank you so very much. And Patricia just broke the news to me that I have to stay behind the podium because it's live stream. And that's difficult for me because I move around a lot when I talk. And so I'm going to do my best. And I also, as you can probably tell already, I talk very fast. And so if you need me to slow down or stop at any point in time, you've got questions, don't hesitate to just jump right in. That works for me. And I want to start by saying how absolutely thrilled that you're gathered here tonight. And we hope that this is one of the many, many times that we come together. And this is your home. The West Center is your home. You are welcome to stop by, you're welcome to visit, you're welcome to meet here, you're welcome to do your events here, because this is Alumni's house. And we're so glad that you have found your way here tonight, and hope you find your way back here very often. One of the things I was asked to do is to very quickly go through, give you a sense of what the Alumni Association is, who our alumni are, where everybody is, just to kind of give you a sense of that. And so again, I'm going to try to do that very quickly because I know you've got a lot you want to do tonight, and most importantly, have an opportunity to interact with each other. So I will go through this very fast. And one of the things I want to emphasize is how many have been, I know we've got some of our leaders that have been here for a while. How many folks have been involved for maybe 5 or 10 years? A couple of us. And because one of the things I want to start by saying is we have gone through a complete restructuring and reorganization of how we do our work as an alumni association. And this is very much directed by our board, who has said, we've got to know who our alumni are, where you live, how you want to gather, and to build and sustain relationships. 3 years ago, that's not how we operated, but that's who we are now. And we really eagerly want your feedback about how we're doing. So one of the things is we have, I want to tell you, how many alumni do we have? We have 515,000. That's how big our UCLA family is. And you'll see some numbers in a minute that don't quite connect here, and I'll explain that. But we have 515,000 alumni. That is all of our degree holding alumni and all of our extension holding alumni as well. If you earn a certificate at extension, you're also considered an alum. And how many of you are members of the Alumni Association? I want to ask again, because it's everybody. Anybody who has earned a degree from UCLA or certificate from extension, we've got a couple I know of students are here. When you graduate, you automatically be a member too, because that's what our chancellor wanted. Jean Locke said, once you graduate, once you're in the certificate, you're automatically in. It doesn't cost you more money, you're already paid. So here you are. So in terms of our demographics, so I mentioned the numbers don't quite match up. You saw 515,000 on the previous page. We have 428,000 because the other 90,000 is extension. Because that was important to the chancellor too. Because our extension certificate holders very much feel like they're Bruins. And so 515,000 all in. Not a big surprise, most of our alums live in California. Even folks that come to school here end up staying here. Fabulous place to be. And we have probably there's another big concentration in the Bay Area, but most of our alumni, about 177,000 alumni, live in LA County. So everybody's close, even though driving doesn't always feel that way, right? Less than 2% of our alumni live overseas or national. In terms of our staff, when I started the Alumni Association about 3 years ago, we had 2 staff whose responsibility was to work with all of our networks, our chapters, groups like yours. We now have 10. Because again, if we're going to build and sustain relationships, we've got to be in a position to support you. And let me say from the very beginning, I hope this is something you feel in working with us and working with Patricia and the team, is this is your organization. Our role is to give you the support, to be an advocate for you, to try to assist you in any way in accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself. They're not our goals, they're your goals. So that's the role that we have to facilitate that. And we also have groups we call our affinity groups. What our affinity groups are very often groups that come together. They've been with us for a really long time, many of them, such as the band. We have a very strong veterans group. We've got a group called Gold Shield, which is a women's alumni group. We have a group called Blue Shield, which is a men's group. At this point, we probably would be as likely to do that, but they're long-standing groups with the association. And we also have 15 emerging groups. So one of the things that we're trying to do is very much what you are doing tonight. If we're going to have an active alumni association, we've got to connect with you as students. So you know that that's what your legacy is, to do exactly what was said in the introduction. Because one of the things that you'll learn that we do is we're very involved and engaged in recruitment and retention programs. So we want to begin to work with you as alumni when you're students, so that you know when you graduate, that's what you continue to do. That's our legacy as alumni. Then the diversity groups. Patricia, why don't you take a minute to talk about your work?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'll try that again. Hello, everyone. Hi. Nice. Thank you. It's Saturday night, and I'm very thankful that you all are here to spend some time with us tonight. So thank you for taking time out of your Saturday evening. I started about 2 years ago. My name is Patricia Gelman. I serve as a Senior Director of Diversity Programs. And I basically, along with David, Morgan, and Bonnie Chen, we help support any identity-based alumni association. You know, UCLA has a very strong tradition of thinking about diversity and how we convene communities, and Pacific Islander being one of them. And we're so excited to be welcoming you all as our newest and youngest alumni association to the mix. And there's about 10, right? So it's very, very cool that we have them spanning the history to almost 30 years ago. We were one of the first schools to have an LGBT alumni association. We have an American Indian one here with Eric Sanchez. Ed Liu, if you met, is part of our Asian Pacific alumni of UCLA. And so there's 10 groups that are around. We are here to really help support the diverse communities, not only find community amongst alumni, but with our students, and as well as to figure out how can we bring back alumni to give back to the university in meaningful ways that feels like we make this campus better for the students and the experiences that we come from. So in addition to that, the Pacific Islander Alumni Association will be joining the 10. They also meet together. So not only do we meet in communities and serve our own, but we also form coalitions and communities together to figure out how we can make this campus a more inclusive and positive one. Also, if you don't belong to one of the 10, but I hope you do, there are different ways to get involved. And one of those ways is through a webinar that we're actually looking for speakers. It's a play on the Power Hour lunch, but it's called Empower Lunch. And so they talk about issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We just had one last night called self-advocacy as a form of activism. And we'll be having another one coming up on the transgender experience, the undocumented experience. One for those that, you know, have gotten their degree here, but going back to their hometowns to do work there. But really thinking about social justice and really thinking about how we put the pride of what UCLA is, right, this public institution, back into our communities. Also, we do events called Mixing It Up, right? So we get all the groups together and we have a cultural sort of experience somewhere. Our next one coming up is actually with the oldest Asian American theater, East-West Players, with a Filipino play called Criers for Hire. It's a comedy about funeral criers, so I hope you join us there. And there's also many different ways. If you all have ideas, because we are such a new program, and we know that you're all very talented and you bring so many skills and knowledge and stories, we want to hear from you in terms of how you want to interact with us. So yes, that's a little bit about diversity programs. So thank you, Patricia.
And one of the things I'll do is I'll give this information to your leadership so you can have it and share it, because as you'll see on here, we're high into also our accountability, because one of the things our board has said to us, when we're investing more into this organization, we need to know what you're doing. It's also for us about sustaining that. We're not into one-shot programming. What works, we'll do it again. If it's not working, tell us something that will, we'll try that too. And one of the other things that we work really hard on, and Patricia mentioned this a minute ago, is we get a lot of feedback from folks. They don't always want to come back to campus. People love being on campus, but what can we do that also, like you're doing tonight, live streaming, the Empower Hour, the Google Hangout pieces. What can we do to also support our alumni that's not so Westwood centric? Again, people love coming back to campus, but sometimes it's difficult to do during the weekend and even on the weekend. So we're looking for, however we can reach and sustain, we're open to that. So again, we really welcome your ideas. The other person I want to introduce is Christine Werlenich. Christine, would you mind coming over? We're also, as we're doing tonight, where our alumni want to gather and form, we're willing to form those kinds of networks. So we've launched 36 new alumni networks over the last year. And Christine leads our, I call them the alumni networks in the universe. I know I'm kind of going beyond the podium here, Tricia, I'm sorry, but I can't help myself. Both within the United States and internationally, again, we just last week, and you'll hear, we also work with the parent programs. The parent programs have a program, what they call coffee socials, where parents just gather together on a weekend to have coffee together. We had 12 parents meet in Dubai. I mean, our Bruins are everywhere. So we're looking for ways that we can connect and sustain that. Do you want to talk about your geography networks for a moment?
Okay, so we have probably about 77 networks around the world. Most are in California and then spread around the country. And we're still looking for other locations where if people move, if they contact us, we're happy to help them get together, get groups together. And they're looking to also partnership with other groups. I know that some of our groups have partnered with other diversity groups, other affinity groups in different states, different areas. So think about
you
that.
can imagine, I mean, how, with our Bruins that are around the world, knowing that you're doing some of the activities you're going to plan on doing, if there's ways that they can connect to what you're doing live streaming or the Google Hangout piece, you know, what a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, there's other Bruins out there, and I can feel closer even if we've got a spread of a distance between us. So
I know you're
incredible
yeah,
opportunity.
but I know you're just starting, but think of those opportunities because regional groups are looking for ways to connect.
We have Christine met at lunchtime with a new leader from New Mexico. I also came from an event where the president of our Houston network was there, so we are everywhere. Thank you, Christine. I'm going to go through this very quickly because I know you've got other things to do. We'll share all this data with you. These next couple slides go through exactly where all of our networks are, where they're involved. We also, as I mentioned, we have very strong connection to our student programs, like you're doing tonight. But we also work very closely with our Student Alumni Association, which is an organization that students can join as undergraduates to keep connected as alums. We do our Dinner for 12 Strangers program. I think it's starting up next weekend, the weekend after. That's something else. Has anybody ever participated in one of those? So Next year, your group could be doing a couple of those. And we also, one of the things alumni do now is that every single orientation program, our alumni are the first to welcome our new students and their families. Because again, what a better time than to tell folks, you are now part of a 500,000 strong family and network that there supports you. I'm going to get to career programs later. Social media. One of the things I encourage you to do very quickly is to connect with, so to speak. We have a very strong social media team. When we went through the review that we did a couple of years ago that I mentioned that resulted in this change of how we do our work, we ranked last among our peers around the country in how we did this work. We are now #1 in the Pac-12 for how we engage our alumni. So we quickly turned that around. And you can see that here in terms of how we've increased our audience by these triple-digit percentages each of these ways. So we can very quickly help you get up to speed. And I know particularly our students are probably way ahead of me anyway, I know that for sure. But in terms of how you want to contact and work with each other through various forms of social media, we've got a team that can jump in and help you right away as soon as you're interested in letting you do that. We're also working on connecting with, we now have alumni staff in each of the professional schools in the college. We meet with them regularly because again, there's so many different ways that you can connect through your major, through your academic program, the way you were involved there, as well as through why you're gathered here tonight. Multiple touch points, and we're going to make sure that you know where all of those are. We also do a number of events with athletics. We have pre-game events at all of our home and away football games. We also do it for a number of basketball games. We're going to have one on the 18th, probably, right, Christine? And what a lot of our groups will do is take advantage of that as a time to meet and greet at those events. They're a lot of fun. We do all the planning for you. You just have to show up and use it as a network event. So that's available for you too. The Alumni Scholars Program. One of the things I think you'll probably talk about very soon is how do you want to build a scholarship? You talked about recruitment. You talked about retention. One of the ways to do this through our scholarship programs. And we can talk with you about how to get going on that and help you with that as well. The Parent Council I mentioned, we also work with our parent program, so that's another way to get involved, our new membership program. And the last thing I really want to spend a couple minutes with you on is, here's our alumni website, but our career programs. One of the things that we hear from alums across the board is looking for ways to connect and network throughout the career lifespan. Not only being available to help our students find jobs, but also at any point in your career, how can you really maximize your growing network to connect with folks for your own job search or to post your own the jobs that you might have in wherever you work. We have a website called UCLA One. That's how we run our mentoring program now for students that connects our students with alumni. We had about 3,000 people sign up and participate in this year. But this is also a site that beginning March 1, we're launching a virtual career center essentially, where you're going to be able to post jobs, look for jobs, look for alumni in your field. There's an app that you'll be able to access to that you can see how many alumni are in the area where you happen to be. So this is a little creepy for me, but I'm old. But this is we're really ramping up what we're doing in the career area. And again, we'll make sure that you have access to all of this so you have this information. But again, this kind of gives you an idea of the directory of how we connect. But bottom line, I know I went through that all really fast. I wanted to give you a very quick context that you're starting out, but you're part of something bigger, but also something that can be very small. However we can support you, we are here to do that. Programmatically, career-wise, activity-wise, event-wise, whatever is ours is yours. Alumni. Your name, put it on our stuff. It's your stuff. Because we are all part of that one big growing family. Again, I know I talk fast. I'll make sure you have all of this stuff. Happy to come back. Happy to answer any questions that you have throughout the night. But hopefully one thing that you can tell for sure is I'm so thrilled that you're here. And so glad that you chose this living room, which is your living room, to gather tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie and Patricia, for that segment. And sorry, I forgot to acknowledge can all the alumni affairs raise their hands, please, in the building? So these people played a big role in helping us gather this tonight. So thank you all very much. They're also a part of the event, so you'll be able to mingle more with them. And we also have folks from other alumni networks. We have the American Indian Alumni Association here. Can you all raise your hands? Yes, thank you all for coming. Our Asian Pacific American Alumni Association. Oh, and you'll find him. He just stepped down. Also the Filipino Alumni Association. AR, can you raise your hand? So yeah, thank you also to Patricia and Bonnie. They played a really big role in helping myself, Alexis, and Kanani get this thing off the ground and going. We actually wanted to start this a little while back, but we have to kind of wait a little bit just to get things going. But I'm excited that we're finally here today. And so just a note, I know some people at first thought it was a PISA Alumni Association, but the reason why we call it the Pacific Islander Alumni Association was because we didn't want to just make it exclusive to just those students who were in PISA or who participated in PISA during their times here at UCLA. We definitely wanted to open it up to all Pacific Islander students who have attended UCLA or who are currently attending UCLA, but also like Julie stated earlier, we're also expanding, maximizing our network and building community. So we specifically invited all the other diversity networks to come out because we're also trying to, not just build community within our own Pacific Islander community, but to also build community amongst our growing alum. So with that being said, we're gonna before we turn the time over to our keynote speaker, I will introduce her. Our keynote speaker for tonight is Asena Taione-Filihia. Asena is currently the Outreach Counselor and Special Programs Coordinator at Cal State University Fullerton. Is an avid supporter of higher education for all underserved students, but especially among Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students. Asena currently oversees the Time Delegate Program, a program out of University Outreach and New Student Programs at Cal State University Fullerton, which helps to further inform and motivate elementary, middle, high school, community college, local, and out of local communities of admissions. She also works with the Asian American and Pacific Islander Initiative, which seeks to further support underserved communities within AAPI, both on campus and system-wide. Her previous experience includes work with the Center for Community College Partnerships at UCLA, where she led collaborative STEM efforts and summer programs for students interested in science majors and science careers at UCLA. Her work also included co-development and implementation of the first Native and Pacific Islander summer intensive transfer experience that focuses on college success through culturally relevant framework. Her ability to work collaboratively across communities and with UCLA's PISA, Pacific Islander Student Association, and the Pacific Islander Education and Retention, the PEER program, ASA, the American Indian Student Association, and RAIN, which is the Retention of American Indians Now, were integral to the establishment of university-supported and student-initiated programs. Ms. Taione-Filihia also served as an outreach specialist for Santa Monica College, and through their AANA PISI grant, on a PC grant, she was able to co-develop and co-implement the Pacific Islander Higher Education Conference, which focused on empowering and motivating underserved Pacific Islander communities at community college. Asena Taione-Filihia began her college career at community college and graduated from Los Angeles Valley College with an Associates of Liberal Studies and transferred to Cal State University Northridge. In 2009, she graduated with her Bachelor's in Communication Studies. In her time at CSUN, she co-established the first of 3 student organizations: Tau Sigma, the National Honor Society for Transfer Students, the Transfer Student Association, and Kindred. Did I say that right? Kindred Oceanic United, discovering that her passion for community and higher education could be a trajectory, she sought out graduate programs that aligned with her goals. In 2010, she graduated with Master's in Education from UCLA, where she eventually took up the position at the Center for Community College Partnerships. Her passion for community has led her to the founder of a non-profitable organization called Formal Educational Partnership that provides workshops, motivational speakers, and presentations of resources for young Pacific Islander students to pursue higher education. With most jobs now requiring more education, it's important to discuss with students and parents college readiness, basic admissions requirements, financial aid, and much more. Some of the topics she presents is a series of formal educational partnerships range from systems of higher education, financial aid, Cal State admissions, UC admissions, and community college success. NHPI educational pipeline, and much more. Some bonus workshops she has are open panels, discussions with parents and students tackling some obvious barriers and challenges we experience as first-generation PI families in pursuit of higher education. So Asena has also been married and raising children all throughout her time in college and attributes her success to endless support of her husband, family, spiritual confidence, and guidance from close colleagues and friends. Without further ado, I'll turn the time to Asena.
Oh, I was waiting for somebody to walk up. I'm like, So good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Malo, Pito, and thank you so very much for that warm introduction, Laniga. Malo Lele, as they would say in my native Tongan tongue. Many islands make up our native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community. So to you all, I extend a warm and hearty aloha, ta'alofa, bula vinaka, kia ora, hafade, and much more. But I think you get the idea. I want to bless the land and the time with our mother tongue and the love for our motherland before I start. I acknowledge the indigenous First Peoples for the land on which we are on, the Tonga people. We thank you for being good stewards of the land and ask for your blessings for this gathering. Good evening. It is so magnificent to be home. I want to extend a special thanks and offer sincere gratitude to PIA, the Pacific Islander Alumni Association, Laniva, Kanani, Alexis, and the rest of the committee board for this opportunity. I'm both humbled and delighted to stand before you as an alum, as a past staff member, and always, always a community member of our beloved PISA, peer, PISA alum, and home of the Bruins here at UCLA. It'd be remiss of me to talk about what it means to be here if I didn't recall the past. So come with me and join me on a little bit of a stroll down memory lane. I was in my last year of undergrad when I applied to the Graduate School of Education and Information Systems here at UCLA. My parents instilled in myself and my siblings a strong commitment to our education. The thought of graduate school was always in my mind, partly because my sisters set a high bar when they finished their own graduate education. As a fourth daughter of 5 siblings, I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. It was an expectation that I made for myself. My parents, much like many of the NHPI families here tonight, they always shared how much they sacrificed for my siblings and I to have this opportunity. As a token of my appreciation, I plan to pursue graduate school. Being married with 2 young children, I didn't want to use that as an excuse not to pursue education. However, I wanted to use it as an impetus to do better. I can honestly tell you that at that time, I did not know anyone that went to UCLA. It was as though it was a tall tale to talk about Islanders at UCLA. That's truly how it felt for me. I have a special place in my heart for PISA here at UCLA because they may not know it, but they fished me in. My Tongan sister and classmate, at Cal State Northridge, Amalia Numefolu, introduced me to her older sister. Her sister was at UC Berkeley at the time, and she invited me to dinner with Dr. Keith Camacho, his wife Julianne, with her older sister Fuifui Lupe, and herself. Dr. Camacho closed out that fun yet critical evening with an invitation to a mixer with PISA students the following week. I was considering applying to the program, but I didn't know that there was a community of folks that were there just like me. The following week, I attended the PISA mixer. I remember inquiring on what I should bring, because that's the normal thing to do as Islanders. Although you want to just come and eat, the reality is you always are coming with something. So I asked Dr. Camacho what I can bring, and I was hoping for the cheapest thing because I was broke. And of course, he said, just bring some drinks. And when I got to that party, there were a lot of drinks. And that was okay with me. That evening at Keith's faculty in residence location, we had a gathering in the lounge. I believe they had a Maori writer by the name of Robert Sullivan, and he shared a few of his pieces that evening. We had chicken teriyaki, we had chicken katsu, and we had rice. And I only remember because as a student, faithful to my student budget, we took home leftovers. Thanks, Keith and Julianne. That evening, I was delighted to have crossed paths with people like Kehao, who was the advisor of Asian Am at the time, Jolie, who was also working at the Asian Am department, Ms. Meg Thornton, and a number of other key individuals that offered support in reading my personal statement, validating my experience as an NHPI student, and they gave me their calendar to actually sit down and have time to talk about what this institution can do for me. In my last year of undergrad, there was a lunch with the president event, and I remember sitting by myself, and a young man came and sat next to me. He offered a drink, and then he sat down, and we talked. That young man's name was Johnny Ramirez. Johnny graduated from UCLA and was pursuing his graduate degree in Chicano Studies at Northridge. I shared with him my thoughts to apply, but that I wasn't sure that I could make it into this school. I vividly remember him saying, "Sis, your community needs you. Research isn't gonna write itself. If you want things to change in your community, some of you have to make it here." He also introduced me to a South Asian sister by the name of Dimple Jan. They both gave me feedback on my personal statement, but more than anything, like those I met at the pizza mixer, they gave me enough validation to continue with an application that I put away earlier that summer. There was just too many great things that came out of that random encounter, and now just too many to write off as coincidence. In the following months, I spent countless nights with my sister Nelmai discussing our childhood to find a theme for this statement. My older sisters Galasita, Nelmai, friends Pipe and Bonnie, and newly established UCLA friends, Johnny, Jolie, Kehao, Dr. Keith Camacho, Julianne, Fuifui Lupe, and a number of others, all read and gave me feedback on my statement. I applied and was admitted for the 2009-2010 cohort. Being at UCLA, I became very familiar with Moore Hall, as most of my classes were offered in that building. P4 was my mainstay parking lot, not to mention the fact that the 405 freeway always had a way of calming my nerves because it took over an hour to go 10 miles. At first, classes were great. I enjoyed my professors and the students in the class, but then as time wore on, I know I began to question my ability to be in the program. I can't entirely say what happened that made me feel this way, but I think it was many things at play that made me feel alone, and at many times as an imposter. I remember even asking whether UCLA made a mistake in accepting me. There was an instance that I remember vividly when I didn't respond to an email. I notified that particular person that I didn't own a computer and would be using the lab to do all my work. The response I received was pretty cold and along the lines of, "You'll have to figure that out. It's your situation. but timely responses are required. They probably didn't mean it that way, but at that time, I felt mortified and behind. It was as though everyone got the memo but me. That's when people like Natasha Sailua, my Samoan sister and friend, who happened to also just be the SIAC coordinator at the time, she introduced me to Antonio Sandoval, and between the two of them, I had random check-ins. I remember Tony even sitting down and looking up internet bundle prices to help me get situated with school. It was through those little interactions, though brief, that allowed me a pressure release. Being at a top-tier research university and seen as a leader, there are always sacrifices. I figured this was one of them, and it was a very, very lonely place at times. It's noteworthy to mention that in my time in the classroom, this is also where I finally found language to put to my experiences. Dr. Solorsano, a faculty here in the higher ed program, talked to our class about microaggressions and racial battle fatigue. Light bulbs went off immediately. I took a course with Dr. Walter Allen, and I learned more than I could ever have learned in my whole life, because I felt like he told me the truth. He told me that no matter what, master's student or PhD student, we were all graded the same. And his teaching style just resonated with me. Restricted to my coursework with the kinds of courses that I can pick outside of graduate program, I wasn't able to take any more, but if I did, I would have taken Dr. Camacho's class. As I reflect on the time in the classroom, having a community made the world of difference for me. I found others who identified with the struggles I was going through. When one thinks of UCLA, it is a place of privilege. Not everyone stands at the top of Jan's steps and sees what you see. Not everyone walks in front of Royce Hall or Powell Library each day on their way to the parking lot from Campbell Hall. Not everyone gets to sit in on speaking engagements from world-renowned speakers and pays nothing at the door. Many times as a student, I'd stand at the top of Jan's steps and I'd tell myself, I'm going to take as many people as I can with me. Everybody needs to see this. And with that, I set out to make that a reality by not only graduating, but working here at UCLA. I began working on campus in 2011 at UCLA Center for Community College Partnerships. I met lifelong friends and mentors Alfred Herrera, Santiago Bernal, Shelly Gonzalez, and Claudia Salcedo, Iris Lucero, who were all making history when it comes to community college transfer students. I was fortunate to work with people that often talked about critical race theory, community cultural wealth, and the need for access and outreach to underrepresented communities like the Latino community, African American community, Native community, as well as Pacific Islander communities. Their work, which primarily focuses on academic support programs for community college students, included residential summer programs and year-long Saturday academies. At those academies, they demystified the whole college experience at top-tier research universities like UCLA. There were talks in my first year to host a particular Native American summer intensive transfer experience. A week-long experience chock full of workshops and intentional opportunities to build community. But due to lack of resources and lack of staff, it didn't happen. In the second year, I remember the conversation I had with Claudia about wanting to do something concrete for Pacific Islander students as well. After all, I am an Islander. And there's a need in other communities for sure, but I also knew that there was a severe need for our communities. I remember asking her whether she thought a Native American and Pacific Islander site would work. She validated it with, hello, PISA and ASA do work together all the time. Why wouldn't it work? I pitched it to my director and the team to host a Native and Pacific Islander site. It was approved, and I was able to proceed to see it through all the planning of the program. The first inaugural year, we hosted MPI site, and it was through the collaboration with PISA, PEER, ASA, and AIR that really got it off the ground. I recruit for MPI site as if I'm still here. That means a lot, especially when I'm working in outreach at a whole different system, at a whole different university, committed to its own goals. That's how the blue and gold runs for me. If that isn't enough, remember Johnny Ramirez? He worked as a peer mentor at CCCP when he was a student at UCLA, but I only found out when my director asked why I was friends with him on Facebook. And remember Dimple Jam, the person who Johnny had referred me to? She was their graduate intern before I was hired. Not only was this joint effort an opportunity to bring awareness to Native American and Pacific Islander education pipeline, but it was also a clear example of how one can use the space they occupy to serve our community as well. In the role that I currently hold at CSU Fullerton, I'm still committed to making room for our students. I now sit on the board for the CSU system-wide AAPI initiative, and I advocate for NHPI students in various ways. I also proposed a program and was funded to host the first inaugural AAPI Titan Ambassador Program at Cal State Fullerton, and we currently serve a few Garden Grove schools. Recently, I was working with Coastline Community College on a joint outreach project. Come to find out, they have an NFPC funded program, APACT, and they were looking for a 4-year partner. In our first meeting with the director, we discovered that we were both UCLA alum. And he was the co-founder of the Filipino Outreach Project at El Camino, out of CPO. I can't tell you what happened there, but there was an unspoken pact that we both understood each other's level of commitment and passion for community work. I share all these experiences with you all because it takes a village to bring someone to a campus like UCLA. UCLA is where I learned to really harness my passions and to align it with my skill set. I shared with you, that's my story of how many people it actually took to bring me here. I'm sure many of our community members, students, and families are waiting to hear from people like you and I. There's power, there's legitimacy, and there's credibility that people out there in the world give us almost instantly when we mention UCLA. I hope that you share this power responsibly and wisely. There is a whole community backing us, cheering for us, and even when it feels like we're alone, it is all part of the process. I would hope that you understand it isn't just about helping yourself when you're here. The truth is, you have to help yourself, but it's also to help your community. We live in a time and place where the classroom and the grades, they all come in your name. But because you're able to take those grades, take those experiences and your degree, and then reinvent multiple ways, like I mentioned from my own experience, to bring as many with you as possible. That's my challenge to everyone this evening, whether you're an alum, whether you're an undergrad, or whether you're just here for the food. UCLA will be turning 100, and we've graduated only 460 self-identified NHPI students from UCLA. I like to see the glass half full, but the reality is that this is a drop in the bucket. There's a whole background with context and timeline that I can't go into right now, but proportionate to our population in California and the US, it isn't much at all. If there was a time where we need to band together to make it, it is now. UCLA and the community we have here is our strength. The Alumni Association should help us find our way to each other. When aligned, we have a greater impact on our community and the lives of students. For current students, you have a community of people you can lean on, whether it is for sustaining you in the classroom right now, graduate school mentoring, job searches, or otherwise. The work is lighter when others join in. Something to remember, community work shouldn't be a one-hit wonder. It should be a lifelong commitment. In every position I hold, I'm finding ways to translate that into my job. I've even started giving free workshops with my sisters to local church families to help build a college-going culture among our people. There is no reason why someone who graduates from UCLA cannot commit to any community work, be it something you create in your position or something you do outside of work. John E. Lewis said, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? The time is right for change. What kind of change you will lead depends on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asena. So we're going to be sending out some more information later about the association, how you can get involved. Hopefully you'll take us up on that opportunity. I get to do the fun part, so if you have your raffle ticket. All right. So we got this full portfolio. I'm concerned about what number was actually chosen. So the number is 638566.
Oh my gosh.
That's me. There's more things that we're going to raffle off. Right now, we're going to just take a quick break, and if you can meet in the foyer, I guess. If you can meet in the foyer in about a minute or two. Back in our seat. Stop.